Where Brooklyn at? The Knicks win a very impressive game, if I do say so myself. First and foremost, good to be back on the ones and twos here. Very much appreciate Andrew Claudio and Mensa and Sean with a W for filling in for me over the last two post games, one of which celebrating my 9-year wedding anniversary with my wife, and the other of which was way too fucking late for me to stay up and do a post game and write a newsletter. So thank you guys. Awesome job. And recap both of those games, I thought, beautifully. This was a good win. You know, it wasn't always a pretty win. It wasn't a textbook win. There were some moments where you felt like the team was maybe giving in a little bit more than they should have against a team that you do not want to give an inch to. They are one of the best three-point shooting teams in the NBA, obviously. They showed that at times tonight. But you zoom out and you look at, okay, this was, as much as any game that they've played this year, a test of wills. Because both teams coming off of West Coast trips, obviously the Nets are playing at home, but I mean, it's as much a home game for the Knicks as it is for the Nets. Although, interesting note that they stayed in a hotel last night, the Knicks did. So they treated it like a road game, treated it like the last game of a 5-game road trip, which seemed like it worked wonders because in that test of wills, the Knicks were the team, one with the stronger will. Much was made about the death of New York's defense, perhaps a little bit prematurely. I thought they, again, wasn't perfect. Nothing tonight was perfect. This isn't the game to be perfect. That was not the goal tonight. But their defense was good enough that you felt like it could support their offense, which we'll get to in a bit. I mean, it's just absolutely humming on levels that I don't know that I've ever seen from a Knicks team. And that includes last year when they finished third in offense, in some part due to smoke and mirrors. So the Knicks were the team that had the greater will tonight, and the Knicks were the team with Julius Randle tonight. And he's put up more impressive stat lines over their recent, I'll call it recent strong play. I mean, they've had some drops here, but like ever since they started 2-6, or excuse me, 2-4. Julius Randle has been playing at an all-star level. I sat down for the first time tonight and earlier today and tried to make my preliminary Eastern Conference all-star team. Even considering those first 6 games, I have Randle in. He's probably in my 12th spot right now. I see him getting higher up the totem pole than lower. I thought it was extra symbolic that he did it tonight against a team like the Nets. Obviously are missing a true blue offensive engine, like shot creator, probably someone in the backcourt for them to be a really elite team. But I think if you look at the way the NBA has trended over the last several years, and you talk to a lot of, not that I talk to any GMs, but I would imagine if you talk to GMs and you're like, build the perfect team on defense, that team would probably look a lot like Brooklyn. They have a guy who, I mean, I think Nick Claxton's defense is probably a little overrated, but a guy who's a high-level rim protector, good, solid defensive center in Claxton, and then it's a whole bunch of switchable wings who, are kind of perfect for the way the game is played today, because this isn't the 1990s anymore. There are no more Karl Malones and Kevin Garnett's and Tim Duncan's and so on and so forth manning the power forward spot. Other teams, usually at the 4, have guys that look like the Nets start at positions 2, 3, and 4. So when you have that, when that's your opponent every night, what the Nets are able to bring on defense with their switchability and their size and their length, it's really great. And you saw that, by the way, against Jalen Brunson, who they're facing guys like Jalen Brunson a hell of a lot more than they're facing guys like Julius Randle. And that brings me to my point, which is that there is nobody else like Julius Randle in the NBA today. There are centers who are doing some of the stuff that Julius Randle is doing, and we know who those guys are, and they're some of the most dominant players in the game. But as far as a guy who, and I've echoed this theme a lot of late, but you can throw anybody you want on him. If you want to throw a big on him, well, he's too quick for that guy. And if you want to throw anybody who's not a big man on him, well, he's just too big and too physical and too skilled. And tonight, Brooklyn learned that the hard way because they were trying to single cover him, and it didn't matter who they were throwing on him. I mean, he was just taking net after net after net into the paint and treating them like ragdolls. And that's what he's been doing to the entire league for the better part of, a month and a half now? And no one can stop this guy. And he is making the right pass pretty much every time now. And it's like, whatever. His final stat line wasn't all that impressive. He's still not hitting it from three. That's the most amazing thing. He's shooting under 30% from three this year, and it doesn't matter one iota. There was that great play, I think it was in the second half, where he kind of pump faked from three. And honestly, I forget who was on him. It didn't really matter. And they didn't really bite. He's like, all right, fine. And he just dribbled inside the arc, put a move on, left the guy in the dust, and then he ended up drawing the foul on Claxton. I think he actually made 1 of 2 and broke his what had been a streak of 20 consecutive free throws. Okay, he's not hitting threes. It doesn't really matter. I mean, he was 9 of 16 from inside the arc. Just as importantly as that, got to the line 9 times, which he could do basically whenever he wants. 4 assists to 1 turnover. You love that ratio. If you're talking about the Knicks right now, you have to talk about what Randall's doing. It's the beginning and end of every conversation, because for as much as people who, amidst the latest star trade discussion, the Cavs might put Donovan Mitchell on the block. Oh, no, the Cavs aren't going to put Donovan Mitchell on the block. Do the Knicks need to trade for a star? It's the only talking point any national media person ever has, because it's their default, because they have nothing else interesting to say about this team because they don't watch this team. If you really want to make a coherent argument that, hey, shit, maybe the Knicks should write out what they have here and try to make the more incremental move somewhere. And we're not going to get into what that is right now. What you're seeing at Randall right now, I think that has to be the start of that conversation, more than Brunson and more than, any, leap RJ or Quickly or anything might take. So that's my big takeaway from this game. And then after that, I'm going to go to Isaiah Hartenstein. Benji Ritholtz, who, between him and DJ Zulo, it's like one, I don't know who's who, but it's like one guy's Randall and one guy's Brunson. It's like they take turns. It's like one guy puts out a thread. Oh my God, this is the greatest thread I've ever seen. Then the next guy puts out a thread. This is the greatest thread I've ever seen. Well, it was Benji's turn today. And the two best that are doing it on the internet or anywhere, film work. And his thread was on Hartenstein. And just showing how his fingerprints were all over that Laker game in every conceivable way. And you watch the game tonight and you watch his performance, again, in the absence of Mitchell Robinson, and you're looking at how they're operating on both ends. And on offense, and this is going to come off as a slight to Mitch, and it shouldn't, because Mitch has gifts that Hartenstein wishes he had. But there are other things that Mitch just doesn't do as well. And most of them are on the offensive end. And when iHeart is in there, he gives the Knicks an added component, an added dynamic on the offensive end of the floor. And is he the best offensive rebounder in the sport like Robinson is? No. He might be one of the 10 best. Maybe that's selling him short. Is he one of the 5? I genuinely don't know. He's so good on the offensive glass that when you're comparing these two players, you're like, all right, well, you lose Robinson's offensive rebounding. But Hartenstein's good enough there, and he gives you so much else that this offense at this point in time, and we're going to get to DiVincenzo. I don't really know how you stop their starting offense. Because everywhere you look, other than your occasional, bad RJ take, and RJ played a good game tonight. I just want to be very clear, but that's literally the only things you could point out where you're like, well, that's not ideal. They're just, I really don't know how you stop them with Randall doing what he's doing. And then Brunson almost every night is going to be able to have his own way with some matchup or another. And then Ihart and DiVincenzo and RJ's been playing really good ball recently. So, and then on the defensive end, it's like, yeah, okay, Mitch is a different level of pick and roll defender, and like he doesn't, very few defenders in the NBA, very few centers, certainly in the NBA, it can impact a basketball game on the defensive end like the way Mitch Robinson does. But man, Isaiah, he keeps you honest on that end of the floor. The one area I think he's the weakest at is probably defensive rebounding, and I think he's gotten. I didn't notice it that much tonight. I thought he's gotten better at it. So all that is just, it's great stuff. And he's such an easy guy to like. He's such an easy guy to praise. He was literally bleeding on the Nets cartoon court. I felt it was funny. I felt bad that he was obviously bleeding like profusely from his mouth after what was called a foul on him. But I was kind of like, you know what, this Saturday morning children's show basketball court deserves to have somebody bleed all over it. But I hope he heals up fast. And then the last guy I wanted to mention explicitly, and I'm sure we'll get to everybody else throughout the show, is DiVincenzo. He's not the defender that Grimes is, and I don't want to be like, he's not the defender that Grimes is, but like, no, full stop. He's not the defender that Grimes is, and Grimes's defense. I know he didn't have a great, like, spectacular offensive showing tonight. You watch Grimes on defense and his point of attack D. It's a game changer because there's nobody else that does it on this team. Quickly doesn't do it. RJ had a really nice defensive game. I thought RJ was probably on balance, maybe their second best defender, either him or Hartenstein tonight. But it's still not quite the same in terms of point of attack defense and battling through screens and recovering and just quick hands. Grimes has been showing some quick hands recently. So like I want to note that, like, that's a real thing. And anybody who's like, DiVincenzo isn't as good a fit for the starting five for that reason, like, you're always going to have a leg to stand on. What DiVincenzo brings in terms of shooting, in terms of real movement, like not just attacking closeout movement, like real movement. He is a very good offensive player for a fourth. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we want to go through ranking fourth options amongst NBA starting fives. I got to think he's one of the top five in that department across the league. Like, he's really good between the shooting, the movement shooting, putting the ball on the floor in a variety of situations. The passing can get a little sloppy sometimes, but you like his passing. And then what you lose in terms of like the point of attack defense and all that, and he's not quite that level. He really does have some good anticipation, some good instincts in terms of stealing balls and all that. Which, again, showed itself tonight. And that's the kind of stuff that could really spark a team. And so how often do you feel like he sparks them with some play or another? And I think it's been, for as much as it doesn't make them like the perfect starting five, but that, there's two perfect starting fives in basketball, maybe three actually now with Minnesota, although they got waxed today. He's really good. He's really good. It's a really good fit for this team. Throw some love to Josh Hart, too. I thought Josh Hart had a really nice game. Mentioned RJ's defense. Everybody had a good game today. Everybody had a good game. Just some quick hitters. You've kind of felt like early on this might have been the Knicks' night, between that Hart miracle three at the end of the first quarter on the busted possession, followed shortly thereafter by the quickly banked in three. So definitely fortuitous tonight. Couple of stretches where they, a little sloppy. The bench unit in the second quarter, not great. The starters gave the big lead back after they took it in the third quarter, not great. But again, you've been on the road for a week and a half. It's like that stuff is to be expected. And then last thing I'll say, actually two last things. One, we saw small ball tonight by necessity. When Taj had to leave the game briefly, I think he maybe twisted his ankle or something, and Hartenstein was still getting stitched up in the locker room. And it was like 3 or 4 possessions, and the Knicks, I think, were on defense twice, maybe 3 times. And they gave up 3 offensive rebounds. Like, granted, Daron Sharp, who he might really be the best offensive rebounder in the sport, puts up prodigious per 36 numbers on the offensive glass. That has something to do with it, but like, it's not just the lack of rim protection that makes that lineup untenable. And it always makes me laugh when people are like, "Oh, well, Tibbs is obsessed with having a traditional 5 like it's for shits and giggles." Like, no, there's tangible basketball reasons why you need a traditional 5, and the Knicks, even after their recent struggles, they're still top 1 or 2, at worst 3rd on the defensive glass this year, and it's a big part of the reason for their success. So I wanted to point that out. And then last thing, didn't have his best game tonight. Not a great matchup for him, Jalen Brunson. But I never want to take Jalen Brunson for granted. And even, tonight, not great offensive process. And yet, where do the Knicks look when there was a little bit of nut cutting time in the third quarter where it got a little too close for comfort? Who made 2 tough baskets in the span of 3 possessions? Jalen Brunson. And the thing I wanted to mention, and I want to point out, I was thinking to myself, even during games where you don't love his process and you feel like he's a little off, I never feel like I go to myself, man, Jalen Brunson really needs to stop shooting. And that's such a compliment to him, and it's such a testament to his ability, even as a guy who I think he's going to be an all-star. I think he's a deserving all-star this year. When he doesn't have it, like, there's no ego in that guy. And that sort of leadership seeps in through the rest of your team, and there's a lot of mouths to feed on this team, and they've been able to hold it together, even amidst some early chirping from Harden and Grimes. I'm sure some other guys that maybe aren't always thrilled about their shots. When you have a guy like that as the leader of your team, it permeates. And so, just wanted to, again, not the headliner or the second line or the third line in this game, but wanted to give Brunson a little shout. And last thing before we move on to our betting and sweating picks tonight, I just want to say thank you to the Knicks for getting the win tonight. It's been how many years? What year is this? It's December of 2023. So it's been 3.5 years with this nonsense. Got my first positive COVID test today. Somehow stuck it out all this time. And so I am not feeling too hot right now. Hence, I have tea in place of my usual post-game bourbon. So thank you to the Knicks for getting this win and, keeping the old spirits up as I'm probably going to be spending the next couple of days in bed. That's it. Let's get to our betting and sweating picks before we get to our super chats. Of course, betting and sweating is sponsored by our very, 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 very good friends at Prize Picks, which APJP is on the 1s and 2s. He's going to get the old Prize Picks ditty up on the screen right now. Here we go. So you can go to prizepicks.com/KFS and use code KFS for a first deposit match up to $100. You know how those things work. You put in 100, you get 100 back. So that's a nice deal. One more time, you're going to prizepicks.com/KFS and you're using the code KFS, just 3 letters, for first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Here are our Prize Picks picks tonight from the fellas. So we had GMAC picked. Let me make my screen a little bit larger here so I can see what the hell's going on. Cam Thomas over 32. Oh, no, sorry. Under 32 points, rebounds, and assists. APJP may need to chime in my ear because I did not do this math ahead of time. Oh, here we go. Andrew Claudio, smart man, because 27 total points, rebounds, and assists. So good job, GMAC. Sean with a W had Isaiah Hartenstein over 12.5 rebounds and assists. And wouldn't you know it, by the skin of his teeth, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 13. Sean with a W. That's a good win. That's a nice win there. XJ took Julius Randle over 25 points again with this by the skin of his teeth. That's 3 wins so far because Julius had 26. That would have been a crime if he didn't get to over 25 because he was utterly dominant. And then last but not least, Mensa went under 1.5 turnovers for RJ Barrett. RJ kept it from being a perfect 4-0 night with Prize Picks because RJ had 2 turnovers. That's unfortunate. So sorry, Mensa, but 3-1 still really good. Again, for all of your wagering needs, make sure you check out Prize Picks and use the code KFS. Again, prizepicks.com/KFS. Use the code KFS for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Giddy up. All right, let's get to the super chats. Starting off with Robert W. Cross. It's your boy John. The Knicks have 2 stars in number 13 and 30. Does this change the calculus on the star trade or not? Hashtag 53 wins. I'll answer that after the next one because I believe the next one is also from Robert W. Cross. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Play IQ, pay IQ. The miseducation of Emmanuel Quickley must end. Hashtag 53 wins. Are we allowed to say that Emmanuel Quickley played an appropriate amount of minutes? I don't think we're allowed to say that, right? IQ, if he doesn't play 30 minutes, he plays too few minutes. Is that the way this story goes? I mean, you look up. He had a nice stat line tonight. 19 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. That the last 2 of those threes came at the end, including that very funny one where they actually called a flop. I said in the Substack chat, if that's a flop, then I'm the Queen of England. I mean, I thought IQ played a perfectly fine number of minutes tonight. I agree with you that you should pay him. I agree most of the time he probably doesn't play enough. Didn't really love his stint in the first half. I thought there was a lot of iso ball going on in that first half stint from the backup unit. Not just him, but it's one of those instances where the ball was kind of a little sticky. But again, quickly makes up for it. He finds ways to make impacts in different areas of the game. And you look up at the end of most nights, and his stat line is going to be really good. But again, this is Dante DiVincenzo was awesome tonight. Josh Hart was awesome tonight. RJ Barrett played really good defense tonight and did some other nice things. And then Quentin Grimes only played 18 minutes. Yeah, I know he was only 2 of 7, but he had a couple nice moments. I thought his defense was really good. This is the reality of having a team with this sort of glut of guards. And it's unfortunate. As far as Brunson and Randall, does it change? I still don't view the team as currently constituted as on that level. I think there needs to be another tweak or 2. Depends what the tweak is, but look, I'm the reason why I'm so tired of having the conversation and why I wish, I know it's a lot to ask them to actually have in-depth conversations about basketball teams, but the reason I'm kind of so tired of it, the Knicks need to trade for a star. When will they trade a star? Who will the star be? This and the other thing is if the opportunity presents itself and it's the right trade, they're going to make the trade. If the opportunity doesn't present itself, they're not going to make the trade. The nice thing about what this team is doing and what Randall's doing and what Brunson's doing and all the way on down is it gives them the leeway to not force a bad trade. The Chicago Bulls can't give away Zach LaVine right now. And how nice is it that, and I know there's the clutch issues too, so probably neither here nor there, but how nice is it to not have the Knicks in maybe the Knicks should be the team to trade for Zach LaVine, because no one would fucking say that. No one who watches this team and no one who watches Zach LaVine. So, if the right star comes along, now look, is it possible we're going to have a dicey Donovan Mitchell conversation this summer? Yeah. And honestly, unless I'm not sure which side of the fence I fall on with that. Really not. Let's have the season play out, which we're going to get to do because they're not trading him during the season. So, Will Oliver, per holiday tradition, put little bro in his place. Yeah, it's always nice to beat the Nets. It's I don't know. It feels a little. I don't relish it as much as I probably did at one point in time. Mostly because I respect the way the Nets have gone about their business since the KD and Kyrie and all of that went haywire. I like their team. It's it's a mediocre team, but I like their team. But yeah, it's always good to beat the Nets. Thanks, Will. Robert Cross with another one. Is it fair and reasonable to say the Knicks will beat Milwaukee on Saturday? If so, I think they beat them on Christmas Day. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah, sure. Let's just beat Milwaukee all of the times. It's I think it's okay to continue to give an immense amount of respect to the best teams in the league. I would really like to see the Knicks get one of these two games. Do I think it is imperative that the Knicks get one of these two games? No. But if they get one, I could not give a shit less which one they get. If they get the game on Saturday and then they lose by 80 points on Christmas, I really don't care. Get one of these wins. That'd be nice. You want to at some point show that you could beat this team because it's been a while since they beat the Bucks. And I think they can. So we'll see. Hussein Gazelle, what's going on, Hussein? What trade are you willing to do for Bridges? Love your show. Thank you so much, Hussein. Appreciate that. Man, probably a lot more than a lot of people would be willing to give up. I mean, conversation will be about Donovan Mitchell probably, until the summer. Give me Mikal Bridges over Donovan for this team. And I'm sure if somebody wants to clip that and disseminate it the next time Donovan goes off for 60 points or whatever, which he could do literally any night. He's that gifted of an offensive player. It has nothing to do with the level of player he is. Donovan Mitchell is a better player than Mikal Bridges. There's no question about that. And as an offensive creator and the whole thing, but for what this team is and what this team needs, I know we didn't have a good night tonight, obviously. Man, that's the trade. But again, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. The Nets and Knicks are not making that trade. It's just, I'd love to be proven wrong. Here, clip again. Another clip you could throw back in my face if the two teams ever make a trade for Mikal Bridges. But I'd give up, man. I mean, without question, I don't want to say that. I don't want to name any names of players. I'd give up a lot. Like whatever you think is too much, I'd probably give up more than that. Thanks, Hussein. And there's no young player on the team that would be off limits for me. That should go without saying. I mean, keep Brunson, keep Randall, everybody else could go on the table from Mikal, which I hope that's not a controversial take. Hush Zoo, what's going on, Hush? Cam Thomas is such an interesting case. Prolific scorer, but on a real winning team, what's his ceiling? First option, 6-man. How do you pay him? Great question. To me, he's the prototypical 6-man. Doesn't pass. I just don't know how you can have if he's on your team, you want him with the ball in his hands. He's not a good enough shooter or defender for that matter where you trust him in a third or fourth option role. If he's on your team, you want the ball in his hands. That's what he does. That's what he's good at. But I don't know how you could have a top 2 option and try to be a winning team, and have a guy that doesn't really pass. it's kind of unheard of right now. So to me, 6-man. Is there a scenario where that dude could be the 6-man of the year one day on the right team? Absolutely. Probably. We'll see why not. Thanks, Cam. Or thanks, Hush. I'm not sure I'd want Cam Thomas on my team, though. I just say that. Gibo, DiVincenzo's play shows Grimes' touches argument was flawed. They're different players. Different approaches, different mentalities. Also, don't discount the fact that this is DiVincenzo's 6th year in the league. It's Grimes' 3rd year in the league. So, and also don't discount the fact that DiVincenzo is coming and joining a team with his college roommate as the point guard. So no hesitancy on his part in terms of ever worrying oh, what happens if what if I miss this shot? Should I not take this shot? DiVincenzo's going out there and letting it fly. But to me, the more interesting one is the flip side of it, which is does Grimes moving to the bench get him more shots? And I think again, that's kind of on Grimes. Grimes still needs to make it happen. He needs to make it happen for himself with the bench units as much as he needed to make it happen for himself and wasn't making it happen for himself in the starting 5. Thanks, Chibo. Fred Katz. What's going on, Fred? I just felt like the world should know that Josh Hart does a Ryan Arcidiacono impersonation, and it's basically him doing an Urkel voice. It's fucking fantastic. Thank you for that report, Fred. For anybody who doesn't know, Fred Katz, new podcast, which you can get on Patreon, the old patreon.com. The podcast is called Cats and Shoot. I'm a very proud subscriber. Here, let me see if I can pull it up. Here we go. Oh, wait, no. Where'd it go? It went away. There it is. Well, Cats and Shoot action. It's 2 tiers. You get 2 pods a month. If you go the top tier, the pods are great. He only has smart well, no, I shouldn't say that. He has smart basketball people on and me. So subscribe to Cats and Shoot on Patreon, and Fred does a fantastic job. Looking forward to talking to him. I think we have a pod scheduled soon, so that'll be fun. Thanks, Fred. Matt G. How many players have minimum 2 All-Star and All-NBA and are not in the Hall? They're out there. Oh, man, you really want to make me go on a basketball reference deep dive? The guy that I'm going to go to right off the top of my head, and I hope I don't look stupid for doing this, is Tom Chambers. So Tom Chambers, does he have the All-NBAs? Yep, here we go. So Tom Chambers, for anybody who doesn't know, played many years for the Seattle Sonics and then the Phoenix Suns. He was a 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player. I believe back when the All-NBA was only first and second team, although Julius obviously made... Did Julius make second team both times? Julius maybe made second team both times, unless he made third the last time. I should know that. That's a bad job by me. Was All-Star MVP. Those the teams he was on, I don't think any of those teams really live on in anybody's memories. He made 5 Western Conference Finals. Couple of which he was, they got waxed, the Suns, to the Lakers and the Blazers, but still, this is a guy who averaged 24, 25 points a game in multiple Western Conference Finals. Yeah, swept by the Lakers, lost in 6 to Portland. I don't know. Was he ever... He finished top 10 in MVP twice. I'm guessing his 2 All-NBA campaigns. That's the guy that comes to mind. I know there's been other guys. So we're not there yet. Long story short, we're not there yet. Now, give him another All-NBA. 3 All NBAs. I think there's a few All NBA guys, 3-time All NBA guys in the I don't know how many are in the last 30, 40 years though. 3-time All NBA guys who didn't make the Hall. But look, at the end of the day, Julius, man, if he stays here and the Knicks like do some real winning, and he's a big part of that winning, we're not there yet. But I appreciate the question. That's for sure. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for allowing me to go on a Tom Chambers deep dive in the middle of a post game. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? Thank you so much for your generosity, as always. Really could not do this without you, man. Thank you. Had to get some sleep until Brooklyn. I'm a little under the weather. Join the club, so I'll be brief. It appeared they listened to your pleas to individuals stepping up on defense. 16 and 11. I would have been very happy to sign up for Let's Go Knicks. Thank you for pointing that out. I usually am pretty good with opening the show with at least one big picture thing, and I did not do that, and I thank you for bringing it to my attention. Because 16 and 11 after 27 games with the schedule they've had, I mean, sign me right the F up. You know, it's why, like, with the 2 games coming up against Milwaukee and then a tricky 3-game road trip against, I forget what the order is, but Oklahoma City, Indiana, and Orlando, and then you come back home and your reward for coming back off of that road trip is to play Minnesota at home. So, like, this is another one of those stretches where I will say right now, man, where do I sign up for 3-3 in this stretch? And I feel like I've said that a lot over the course of the season, where I'm like, sign me up for 500 over this stretch, sign me up for 500 over that stretch. And yet, here we are, we look up and they're 5 games over 500. It's a really good job by them. And as far as individuals stepping up on defense, it starts at the point of attack. It starts with holding your ground, you know, getting around screens, digging, showing, helping and recovering, all the little shit that we weren't maybe always doing at every point in the season. Well, they were doing a nice job of it tonight. Thank you, Dom. Hush Zoo with another one. I think the Suns game solidified Brunson's all-star spot. I wonder, because of Randall's bad start to the season, if it'll hold him back. The Knicks deserve 2 all-stars. You know, I don't know that the Knicks deserve 2 all-stars. They are a team that is very much built on the talents of their top 2 players. But, like, you look up, they're a half game back of Orlando. Orlando's 16 and 10. The Knicks are 16 and 11. I would make the case that if the Knicks get 2 all-stars, Orlando's like almost certainly getting 0 all-stars. So it's tough for me to be like this team deserves this number of all-stars. Now, I think an exception to that rule is Boston. I don't know, like Boston after Tatum, you could argue, should they get 1 more all-star? Should they get 2 more all-stars? Should they get 3 more all-stars? Like they have 4 other guys besides Tatum that have an all-star team, all-star case. That to me is a little bit different because they've been so good and so dominant that it would feel funny to me for them not to get multiple all-stars. I don't know if any other team. Honestly, I don't know that any other team in the league, like, quote unquote, like, deserves, like, they have to get multiple all-stars. Like, Minnesota's a tricky one. They lost tonight, I know. But, like, the West is going to be tough, man, because does Gobert get in? I don't, does Towns get in? That's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, Edwards will get in. But, like, how the Knicks are built and how the Knicks offense functions, like, I think both guys have a really good case. Thanks, Hush. Andrew Claudio. JMAC, first time, long time. Glad to be back on Eastern Standard Time. You know that. Always feels good after a long road trip out west to enjoy a blowout win at home. Well said, Andrew. Well said. Do I want to be kind to Nets fans? It's just amazing. There are so many fucking basketball fans in this borough. Obviously, for anybody who doesn't know, I live in Brooklyn. There's so many people who love the sport of basketball. And this fucking team went out and they did what 29 other NBA teams dream of doing. And like had, whatever the fuck Woj called it, like clean sweep. And like put aside the fact that it kind of blew up in their faces, but like they did not gain any semblance of a foothold here. Like you would expect after something like that happens, it's like, all right, that's going to rally a generation of fans to like support this team. It hasn't at all. Like I joke about it. There are Net fans, but like same friggin' Net fans that existed before the KD and Kyrie and eventually Harden thing. And the level of apathy in the borough for this team, it's unfortunate because they're a fun, spunky little team. In their position, they could certainly trade for a star. It's unfortunate for them. Drazov, what's going on, Drazov? Serious question. When does the discourse for a player go? Oh, I like this question. From star to superstar. Everyone by now knows Jalen Brunson is a star, but when does it shift to the next level? Is it a specific movement or stat, or know it when I see it type of deal? I think it's a know it when you see it. The problem is there is no definition for this. Everybody has different definitions of a superstar. Like, I thought it was a fascinating conversation. I have more than enough to drink, so I'll take a drink on the Low Post podcast this week. Tim Bontemps was on. I love the work Timmy Bontemps does, and this is a guy that like covered the Celtics for a lot of years. Like he's a Celtics reporter by trade, and he basically was like, I'm like traditionally teams that win the championship have a better player than Jason Tatum. And he said this and was like, yeah, Tatum's like a top 5 to 10 player in the league, but he's not in the top 5, or he's like between 6 and 10. Like, I don't know. I'd love to talk to Tim about that because I think it'd be an interesting discussion about like, so does that mean a superstar is like top 5? Does it mean like the guy who traditionally is the best player on a championship team? I don't know. I think I guess my definition has changed over the years. I think at one point I was like, a guy has to be a guy who could be the best player on a championship team. I think that's the safest definition. But the way you talk about it now, I think it's someone that like, if you turn on their game more often than not every night, but like more often than not, you will be watching the game, or better yet, not you will be watching the game, but your like wife or friend or husband or whatever, someone who has like really no interest in basketball or even sports, and that person could sit and watch the game for 5 minutes, and then you ask them like, so what do you think about this game? And they're going to be like, oh, well, it's that dude, and then there's everybody else on the court. That's a superstar, probably, in the NBA. I think that's probably the best definition. And that's what's tricky about Brunson and Randall, for that matter. I mean, well, I gotta tell you, the guy who's fit that definition more on the Knicks over the last month has been Randall, right? Because there have been more. I mean, including tonight. If again you turned on the game for the right 5-minute stretch, anybody watching would be like, oh, that guy's like, he's just better than everybody else. Brunson, there are nights where, and the other thing about Brunson, which is just tricky, he works so hard for it and works so hard at it. And like, I think that's why people like, oh, like, I think of Jimmy Butler and how Jimmy Butler, like, I mean, now he's made, 2 of the last 4 finals and almost made a third. So I think that finally got people to change their definitions. But you go through all of these, your preseason lists and your midseason lists and your this and your that. And like for years and years and years, like there was Jimmy Butler, like, oh, he's the, 18th best player in the league or 22nd best player in the league or whatever. Like, because he works hard at it. It's work for him. Now, he is maybe a top 5 worker in the history of the NBA. But Brunson is in that mold. So I think that prevents a lot of when people have these discussions about stars versus superstars. I think that prevents them from putting Brunson on that echelon because they look at him and they look at how he does it, and it's just nothing he does is easy. Should that matter? I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't. I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's a great question. It really is. I wish I had a better answer for you, but it's something I do spend time thinking about, and I do find very interesting. Thanks, Jezov. Hush, what's going on, Hush? Hope we could somehow retain iHeart. Perfect backup. Well, funny you ask. I started writing Friday's newsletter today, and somebody asked about retaining Hartenstein. I'll without spoiling it, I will just say that they can absolutely retain Hartenstein. They will have the financial wherewithal to do it, and my guess is that they will feel that they have a need to do it. So, yeah. Thanks, Hush. Another one from Drazov. Now that Julius Randle looks unguardable, who do I complain about? That's halftime dunkers blatantly traveling. That's funny. Maybe we just don't complain about this team. They're just a honest to goodness, good, sometimes very good, occasionally like great NBA team. And that's really cool. It's really cool to be able to say that. Thanks, Trezov. Sam Garcia, what's going on, Sam? Fellas, let's take 10 seconds to laugh at the Brooklyn Nets. I can't give you 10 seconds, but no, it's hey, listen, they tried. Kevin Durant's shoe size, so on and so forth. I'm so fucking happy they didn't win a championship. I don't know that may, I'm admitting that would have bothered me a lot. So I guess that in and of itself is a testament to what the Nets almost did. But man, I'm so fucking happy they didn't win a championship. Fuck them. Thank you, Sam. Kevin, is this Kevin Danishevsky? I think so. Gotta love how this team is taking care of business against bad teams except Utah. Nets aren't a bad team. The Nets are, they may have a negative scoring margin after tonight. They came into tonight with 500 record and a positive scoring margin with a really good offense, 11th ranked offense in the league. So I do not think the Nets are a bad team. They're a mediocre team, not a bad team. Anyway, in my opinion, if you swapped Cam Thomas for IQ, both teams would be better off. What the hell? No. What the fuck? No. Oh my God, no. Someone take the trade machine away from Kevin. The Nets, I think, would be better off. Actually, you know what? Honestly, I think like Cam Thomas is pretty good for the Nets, but like just no. Thanks, Kevin. Keith, what's going on, Keith? How are you doing, man? Thank you for the contribution as always. Watched the game as well as I could on cruise Wi-Fi. I was scrolling Twitter before, and I think I saw you post a picture or something. So I hope you're having a great time. You deserve it, man. You're one of the good ones. It's always great smoking that New Jersey team. I'm really loving Bully Ball Julius. Beast mode. Shouts to KFS. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's Julius is in a great place right now. He's in such a. I could wax poetic about him for a long time because we just We've had some great players come through this franchise. I mean, just talking about Brunson, Porzingis obviously had a moment, brief moment, but it was a moment. Melo, you know, uh, but even like more unheralded guys like Sprewell and Houston, going back to the 90s. Melo had stretches. Melo had stretches where he was just on another level. I don't know that I could remember a Knick doing to teams what Julius is doing to teams right now. It's weird because it was like a different, like obviously I remember the 90s, I remember Patrick, but like it's a different era. Like back then, like 25 points a game like meant something. 20 points a game meant something. Now it's like your fourth leading scorer might get 20 and it's like, it's not a big deal. So different sport, different era, everything. Man, he's on another level right now. It's really cool. Thanks, Keith. Dom the dentist. What's going on, Dom? Love Dom being active in the Substack chat. I lost my parlay by one iHeart rebound. I'm so sorry. And I feel everyone should ignore this win and be as upset as I am about it. Appreciate the team effort. Thanks. Oh, okay. Hold on. Thank you, Dom. I'm sorry about your loss. As for the comment earlier about Kevin meant Cam Johnson, not Cam Thomas. Well, that is a little. That's a horse of a different color. I'm sure most Knicks fans would rather have IQ. I like Cam Johnson. I think Quickly has the higher ceiling as a player, for sure. It's definitely untapped potential with the Quick, but that gets at your point, right? That's an interesting one. I got to tell you, you're talking to the captain of the. I kind of think Emmanuel Quickly has more value as a trade asset than as a player for the Knicks. And again, that's not a disparagement of Emmanuel Quickly. That's, I think, an acknowledgement of the fact that people around the league are probably pretty freaking high on him. And there's maybe a few people around the league who wonder, what could he look like as a starting point guard and with a real usage rate and real minutes and the whole thing. That's what that's about. It's a compliment to Emmanuel Quickly, not a disparagement. I don't know if I'm doing that trade. I know it's free. I mean, it doesn't work money wise. But I guess would it work under the cap? I would have to look at the salaries, but Fournier and Quickly for Cam. I mean, whatever. It's not happening, so it's neither here nor there. But that's you get points for that one. That's interesting. All right, Jocelyn Focus. What's going on, Ja? 2 years ago, I attended a game where the Knicks went up on the Brooklyn Nets by 28 points. Then they blew that lead, and eventually the game to a KD and Kyrie-less Nets team amid Brooklyn chants at MSG. I needed this one. We'll never forget watching that night. I watched, obviously, from home. That one, was that the low point of that season? Whenever I think about that game, I think about the fact that the lead immediately after that lead got under. Andrew's reminding me we were on playback for that game. I remember as the lead went under 20, I immediately went into, we're going to lose this fucking game, because it had come at a point in the season where they had already done like some version of that so many times, and it was so baked into that team's DNA to just like, give it all back. And I remember by the end of that game, I wasn't even shocked. You're there's a part of you that's like a little stunned, but like in terms of like, oh my God, I can't believe this Knicks team blew a 28-point lead to this Nets team without any stars. Like, no, I wasn't shocked from that perspective. What a depressing freaking night. And my God, what a flip of the script from this franchise from that. Amen to that. Hush Sue, what's going on, Hush? Oh, we got this one. Yeah, already. Yes. It's still nice to humble little brothers. All right, another one from Kevin. Dante DiVincenzo looks terrific, and that is awesome. Exciting. Yes, it is. RJ's defensive improvement is a plus. I agree. Hate to complain tonight, but of course you're going to. Quentin Grimes is concerning. His confidence is shot. We need him going. What are you talking? His confidence isn't shot. He's a third-year player. He's still adjusting to a different role. He had an off night, shooting wise. This is interesting. We got a little breaking news. What? Oh, this isn't good. Okay. Well, this post game takes on a bit of a different tenor. The Knicks have applied, as per Shams. The Knicks have applied to the NBA for a disabled player exception worth $7.8 million as the franchise projects center Mitchell Robinson will miss the rest of the season. Sources tell The Athletic and Stadium. Major development as Robinson had ankle surgery last week. Well, that is a fucking blow. That's a blow. That's a big blow. All right, time to recalibrate a little bit. No, Kevin, I don't think Quentin Grimes' confidence is shot. Okay, we could move on. So we'll get to Fred's comment in a second. As Fred just texted me a minute ago saying he wants to see my reaction when I see the Mitch injury news. Fuck. All right, let's do a quick recalibration here. This hurts. I know he was going to be out for 2.5 months, but to know now that you're not potentially, right? Potentially getting Mitchell Robinson back for the entire season, it lowers the ceiling of the team for sure, because the best version of this team and the version of this team that is able to play the sort of defense that can win you a playoff series, that version includes Mitchell Robinson. That's my first instinct. I don't know. I don't know that they could defend well enough. Now, as I say that, I am also very cognizant and aware of the fact that the two teams that the Knicks are very likely to run into if they get into the playoffs, which again I know they won tonight. I know we're all feeling good. Is no given. Boston and Milwaukee are two teams that, well, Boston especially, but I also think Milwaukee are not great matchups for Mitch. He doesn't do well when there's a stretch five on the floor, and when it's a stretch five that could actually really hurt you, like Kristaps, it seems to get in his head. That's partially on the scheme, but I also think it's partially on Mitch. I've not liked how Mitch has looked against stretch fives for a little while now. But you need to get to a series against Boston and Milwaukee first. And again, that takes me back to my original point, and that like Mitchell Robinson was going to help you do that. And now again, you may not get him, or you probably won't have him. So that's a big deal. And he's just like, man, without him, just the mentality of your team, I think, shifts so much because just him being back there. It's almost like what Jalen Brunson is and Julius Randle is on the offensive end, where you're like, you have those guys who are going to make those tough shots. Well, when you have Mitch back there, you have Mitch out back there. So if you do blow a coverage or if something goes wrong on the defensive end, that like he's back there. He's going to be able to cover up. He's going to be able to play 2-on-1 defense. Like they don't have that anymore. That is such a big part of the mentality of their team. And to not have it anymore for the rest of this year is a huge blow. So that's my first thought. Said the thing about Boston, Milwaukee. Listen, Hartenstein's awesome. And I do think that there is a longer conversation to be had about whether the benefits of Isaiah Hartenstein with this particular unit that he starts with. I think there is a conversation to be had. And again, it probably depends. I mean, look, they need to get through the rest of the season first. But like we could sit here and we can have a discussion about it in certain matchups. Like is what all the things we talked about earlier about what Hartenstein gives you, is that actually more beneficial than what Mitch brings? It's an interesting conversation. The other part though is the depth part of it. Like, man. All right, this is per Fred Katz. I'll just read this. To get a disabled player exception, the NBA's doctors have to believe that a player is substantially more likely than not to be out through June 15th. The Knicks wouldn't apply for it if their doctors didn't believe that was the case. Terrible blow for both Mitch and the Knicks. Yeah. And then this is per Steph Bondy. The Knicks never disclosed Robinson's injury, but I've heard it was a fracture and required the insertion of screws. So this gets to the other part of this, the $7.8 million exception that they're applying for, because they're obviously not applying for that for their health. No pun intended. I think they do now need to add a piece. Jericho Sims, I'm not going to sit here and disparage Jericho Sims. Jericho Sims is a really nice find at the 58th pick in the draft for the regular season. If he's coming in off your bench and playing, 10, 12 minutes a night, for stretches of the season, that's fine. That's what he should be doing. If you're a team that intends on winning a playoff series, like, you're not talking about Jericho Sims. And I mean, my God, does it pain me? Does it pain me to say this? But Taj, at this point in his career, same category. Like I'm nobody. There's literally no one. I don't think Taj's family loves Taj Gibson more than me. I think even Taj would probably admit that on a team with designs of winning a playoff series, he's probably not the guy that you want to count on to play upwards of like 20 minutes on some nights, which if this team didn't make a move. So now you apply to that for that exception. We'll see if they get that exception. If they get the exception, I mean, you could fit some guys into that exception. I'm not gonna sit here and go through the league right now. 7.8 million. That's a not insubstantial amount. Obviously, essentially it's treated like a traded player exception. So you can send someone out, and if the salaries don't match up, you can fit them into that exception. Now, what I'm not sure about, and what I don't know if Fred's still listening, I'm sure he's already doing his research on this, or he may actually have this off the top of his head, or anybody else could chime in. Pretty sure the Knicks are dangerously close to the luxury tax. So, and even more than that, they are hard capped this year. So I'm not sure how that works. Are they even going to be able to spend that entire exception? Obviously, it would depend on the money going out. I think it would depend on the money going out in the deal. Yeah, right on cue. Here's Jeremy. So the disabled player exception, yes, worth half of Mitch's salary. The Knicks have to stay under the hard cap because of the DiVincenzo was signed using the full mid level. So that's 172.3. Any player they acquire via trade with the disabled player exception has to be on an expiring contract, and the exception can only be used on one player. So again, I don't know. I forget what their salary is at right now. I'll just look it up and then we can move on with the show because I don't really think I have anything else to say on this. All right. So the Knicks right now, in terms of their salary cap this year, are at 162.58. So the hard cap is 172.3. I hope that I'm going by the total cap number on Spot Track. Now, I think that number is accurate. I know that there's some like chicanery in terms of like unlikely bonuses and like whether that factors into the total cap number in certain scenarios. But it looks like if I'm going off of the Spot Track number, and again, if this is wrong, I apologize, and I'm sure somebody will correct me. It looks like they will be able to use the entirety of the disabled player exception if they get it granted to them. But again, the player would need to be on an expiring contract. Oh man, I'm gonna look it up just because I know. I mean, they've been linked to this fucking guy for half a decade, and well, I mean, the team is still trying to win. Yeah, he's on an expiring. Yeah, Drummond makes $3.36 million. I don't love him. Never have been a huge fan of Andre Drummond, but like in terms of fitting what the Knicks kind of look for in that sort of player, God, that's painful. But I just said Andre Drummond's name on a fucking what was a very happy post game podcast. How the hell do we get here? Okay. Let's keep it going. I think we had a Fred Katz super chat. Yes, Fred Katz back during simpler, happier times. Some multi-time All-NBA players not in the Hall of Fame. LaMarcus Aldridge probably won't make it. I'll bet you a beer that he will, Fred. Kevin Johnson, that's a good one. I think KJ made 3 All-NBAs, and I think he was like a 5-time All-Star. Mark Price might be the best player of the last, or have the best resume of any player in the last 40 years to not be in the Hall of Fame. Gilbert Arenas, Chauncey Billups. Chauncey's getting in. Penny, weird career. Kemp, kind of weirdish career. Marquise Johnson, Brandon Roy, obviously weird career. Jermaine O'Neal, weird career. Darren Williams, weird career. Sean Marion, I think Marion gets in too. I got to tell you, I think Marion gets in. I think Chauncey gets in. And Kevin Johnson and Mark Price, in my book, should be Hall of Famers. I think those guys they meet the whatever the hell the NBA's criteria are. But thank you, Fred. That's a great list. Oh, man. Juanon, smacking around younger brother is a lot more fun when they talk shit before. I didn't even know they talk. Did somebody talk shit? This just felt like bullying. 3 of 20 shooting while your boys are lighting it up on the other team. I had to feel for, I'm assuming you feel for Mikal. Yeah, it was rough. Rough night for Mikal Bridges. It happens. Let's keep moving these along. Feels like a different freaking live stream now. Josso Focus. Think RJ is now the team's best free throw shooter officially. He might be by the numbers. He might be. I think I still trust. Actually, man, it's scary to say I might trust RJ at the line more than anybody else right now because Brunson he misses some ones every now and then that are big ones. Quickly can miss them. Randall could miss them. You know. Good job, RJ. Thanks, Joe. Sean with a W. There are 55 games left. 30 are at MSG. Talk soon. I like it. The Mitch news hurts, but good slate set up. And again, great job, Sean. Thank you for filling in for me during the last game. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? This is me overreacting, but is prying Drummond from the Bulls a play now that Mitch is out? Yeah, well, it's tough because you're looking around the league for. I mean, first of all, the Bulls beat the Lakers tonight. So the Bulls are winning. The Bulls are now, I believe, 7-3 since Levine went down. They're 12-17. They have the same. They're 9.5 games back, same as the Raptors. Like, their ownership, their front office, continues to talk about them. Like you heard reports that they want to keep Caruso because he helps them win games, and they want to make a win now trade involving Levine if they trade him. This, not. So are they throwing in the towel? You don't know. Atlanta's going to keep going for it, I would think. Not that I mean, so that, but this is the problem too. It's Atlanta wouldn't even be a candidate because Onyeka just, whatever. There are so they don't qualify. Neither of the Hawks centers qualify for various reasons. I was just thinking of them because they have two really good centers, and you think they would maybe want to trade one at some point. There's so many teams going for it. So you look at the teams that aren't going for it, and then you look at the backup centers on those teams, and you're like, okay, well, Charlotte, they have some young players at center, so I don't think they qualify. Gafford makes too much money on Washington. You want one of the Pistons guys? I'll pass. Obviously, Bagley is not. I don't think he fits, and he makes too much money. Wiseman, I think, makes too much money. Not that we would want him either. And then you keep going down the list. Again, you look at the West. It's everybody's trying to win games in the West. And so who's not trying to win? The Jazz. God, I guess we're really doing this, huh? Because I want to look up. Yeah, Olynyk makes too much money. That's what I suspected. So that's a no-go. Portland, I think, is going to make a push now that Ja Morant's back. Great job by them and him getting that win yesterday. They have Xavier Tillman's on an expiring contract. That's an interesting name. That's a name. Xavier Tillman, he's a. I wonder if he's a name that you'll hear. What's his face? Big Bob is out for the year for Portland, and he also makes too much money. And then San Antonio, I'm pretty sure Zach Collins makes too much money, but I'll double check that right now. But I don't, not that I think they necessarily want to trade Zach Collins, or that the Knicks would necessarily want Zach Collins. Yeah, 7.7. 7.7. Oh, but he's not expiring. Zach Collins isn't expiring. So it's neither here nor there. Man, this is tough. There's really not a lot out there. There's not a lot out there in terms of centers that are worth bringing aboard. You're going to need to give up probably a pick, right? Second round pick or something. Tough. Thanks, Anthony. All right, here we go. We got some names. Kem Birch, Nerlens Noel, Dwayne Dedmon are all free agents. I'm good on Nerlens. Birch is an interesting name. I've always kind of liked Kem Birch. Dedmon was with Miami, I think, right? Last year? I think so. He could shoot it a little bit. now I'm like really trying to rack my brain. I'm pretty sure Rashawn Holmes. Not that I love Rashawn Holmes, but yeah, he makes too much money, so he's not in it. You know who's a guy? Oh man, I know he's expiring, and he doesn't offer the type of rim protection that Tibbs wants, and he makes too much money anyway. I was looking at Thad Young on Toronto. I mean, I like Thad Young. He's not playing right now for them. Man, Dwayne Dedman. That's what we're doing now. Dwayne Dedman. Again, you're not nuts. You're not nuts. Sam Roth, could we trade for Olynyk, expiring contract? Not if you want to use the disabled player exception. Makes too much money. So that's the issue there. I mean, you want to give up real stuff. So, again, you don't have to give up. You don't have to fit it into the traded player exception. You could trade. I mean, you could trade Fournier also if you don't want to disrupt your rotation. But then you would need to take something back in addition from Utah. So and they don't really have any other fungible salaries that they're just looking to dump. They have Omer Yurtseven. So that gets you to 14. Fournier, what is Fournier making? 18? So that trade, not sure if that gets it done under the cap. And then all of a sudden now you're getting into, a 3-for-1 and you're talking about cutting multiple players. It's like, that's not ideal. I don't know. Olynyk, he's always been a guy that's been interesting to a lot of people because he shoots it. I don't know. Something name to keep in mind. It's a name to keep in mind. Kevin, the Knicks should hire Macri as their defense attorney. I was just watching old videos today, and he's an expert in injury law. Seriously. Very funny, Kevin. I appreciate that. Sam Garcia's dad. Does the Mitch news increase the front office's interest in Cat? No. First of all, if you're Minnesota, you're riding out this season and see where you go. I mean, you could tell me the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to end up in the finals. So they're not. That's not. No, they're gonna look for a stopgap. They're gonna look for a stopgap. I think they still like Mitch and believe in Mitch. I don't know anything about the injury or the recovery or anything like that. My guess would be that they will anticipate Mitchell Robinson making a full recovery. But I don't think no. Thanks, Sam Garcia's dad. Big B, what's going on, Big B? Hey, John, is this a championship roster? And is it possible? Oh, my God. What are we doing here? Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Mitch. Well, not this year, it ain't. Bench, IQ, Dante DiVincenzo, Olynyk, and Isaiah Hartenstein. Yeah, Olynyk is a 5, so that's a bit of an issue. I don't know where. I didn't see Josh Hart. So you're probably going to want to keep Josh Hart in there because he can't be traded this year. So he's going to be on whatever fake roster you want to put forward. But if you just want to talk about Brunson, Mitchell, Anunoby, and Randall as a top 4, I think that's an interesting top 4. I don't know that I would say that I still don't love the fit with Mitchell and Brunson, but I don't know. It's a lot of talent. Matt Levine, thanks for the contribution. Appreciate you. Danny Gardner, trade for Bogdanovich and one of Detroit's backup bigs. Give Detroit their pick and one other protected with Evan Fournier. All right. I mean, we're going through everybody else's roster. We might as well look at Detroit's roster. So, um, couple things. Isaiah Stewart, beef stew. He poison pill. So extended this summer. There was somebody had an article on this recently. So it's a tough guy to trade for. It's a sort of trade where you're probably talking about aggregating some significant salaries to try to make the ingoing money match with the outgoing money. Also, like, I think Beef Stew's a guy that like they will probably value higher than just like here, take him. He's good. I know obviously it hasn't worked with him as the starting four because nothing has worked there, but I don't see that. Duran is a part of their foundation. They're not trading Jalen Duran. I want nothing to do with Wiseman. I'm not sure James Wiseman's any good at basketball. Maybe he figures it out and makes me look ridiculous. God knows other players have, but I don't think James Wiseman is what this team should be looking at. And then that leaves Marvin Bagley, who, he's got 12.5 this year, 12.5 next year. He's a talented offensive player. Is that what the Knicks need? Is their backup five? Or for that matter, their starting five? Is that what they need? An offensive first big who likes to have the ball? I don't know. They need someone who's going to clean up on the glass. And that's the thing about Drummond, right? Look, Drummond is a meme almost. Well, no, he's not Dwight Howard. But like we all know the Andre Drummond experience, right? It's not ideal. Is he any kind of a rim protector at this point? No, he's not any kind of a rim protector at this point. There is one thing that Andre Drummond does still to this day as well as any player that has played the game of basketball for the last 20 years, and that is rebound. Andre Drummond still is as good a rebounder as you'll find. And again, if you're looking for someone on your backup unit who like kind of knows how to play a basic drop, pick, and roll coverage and is going to get every board on the defensive glass and is going to get you a lot of offensive rebounds too, it's Andre Drummond. That's the only reason. Like, forget the fact that he, got very silly in the middle of his career and wanted the ball more and his efficiency tanked and all the stupid trade rumors with the Knicks and like, oh, the Knicks are going to want to upgrade by trading Mitchell Robinson, and getting Andre Drummond. Those reports were so ridiculous when they happened because Mitch was already better than Drummond was then. Put all that stuff out of your mind. The dude could board. And if I know Tibbs, that's what he's going to be looking for, and whoever the hell they try to get to fill this gap. But we'll see. Man, this is so brutal. Truly. Jason with another one. With Jason, how you doing, Jason? Still have the Obi traded player exception. Forgot about that. 6.8 million. The disabled player exception does little. I mean, it does. It's if you find a player that's making more than 6.8 but less than 7.8. That's a fair point. It's a fair point, but you never know. Thanks for pointing that out, Jason. I always forget about the Obi traded player exception. Robert Cross with another one. Disheartening news. Mitchell Robinson is my favorite Knick. Just wish him the best. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah. Yep. I'm going to attempt to put a silver lining on this. The Mitch surgery happened 5 games ago, or the injury happened 5 games ago. I guess the surgery happened probably 4 games ago. You have to think the team knew about this, that Mitch wasn't coming back. you have to, because if what Steph kind of reported is true, and it screws and it's a full thing, then like I'm guessing that they knew the deal, and they have come out, over the last 3 games. You know what? I wonder. Hmm. I wonder if they found out about the Mitch news before the Utah game, or at some point between the Toronto game and the Utah game. And that why, I'm not sure. Someone could do the timeline digging and find out, did Mitch, even if he got whether he got surgery or not, like it's entirely possible that they found out about that news before the Utah game, and that might explain a little bit of their performance against the Jazz, which was just like completely and totally like just listless and like all like nothing good. That would explain a lot. The silver lining I'm going to give is how they've played since then. I know they did not show up in the Clipper game defensively, but I think that had more to do with second night of back-to-back, and the Clippers are absolutely rolling. But like really gutty Suns win, gutty Lakers win. I thought tonight was a gutty win. That's an encouraging sign to me. That's an encouraging sign. This team doesn't know how to let go of the rope. So it's good. Matt Levine, do you see Kelly Olynyk as a good fit? I guess that's the name everyone wants to bring up. I mean, he could shoot it. He could do a little bit on offense. He's obviously not a strong defender. He's not any kind of a rim protector. I don't think he's a particularly great rebounder. And like, I don't think he's gonna be cheap either. Like, you're dealing with Utah. How'd that go the last time? I don't know. And again, you're talking about aggregating. You're talking about building up a trade. You're talking about using Fournier's contract. You're talking about taking back additional money and additional players. And I think it would probably wind up being 3-for-1. And like, it's a lot. Thanks, Matt. Haitian Ferg, what's going on, Haitian? I have faith in Tibbs in the front office to make the right move to fill in for Mitch. We've got the perfect no-quit coach and the right front office to make a deal that won't kill us. Get well soon, Mitch. Yes, get well soon, Mitch. Thanks, Haitian. Yeah, totally. I think I'm not worried about Tibbs or the team is going to respond. I'm not like worried about how the front office is going to handle this. I do wonder how much urgency they will show. Which, what does that mean, right? Well, most teams right now are not sellers. And we talked about a team like the Bulls before, brought up Andre Drummond before. Again, the Bulls have won 7 of 10 games. They're whatever they are. What are they? A half game back of they're a game back of 10th. 2 games back of 9th. 2.5 game or 3.5 games back of 8. Like, they're going to talk themselves to be in it. Like, what's the urgency for them to just like give Andre Drummond to the? And again, people may not want Andre Drummond, whatever. But like, what's the urgency for them? Like, the teams that are like, is Utah clearly going? Like, let's say that the Jazz, would be open to trading Kelly Olynyk now. Well, it's fucking December. They're not going to give him away now. Even if they did feel that sense of urgency. Like, there's so few teams right now that are just like clearly sellers. And even them, like, if you're going to try to lowball them, they're going to be like, well, no, I'll hold out. It's tough. Tough situation. Robert Cross with another one. I didn't want to waste capital for some stupid center. iHeart's time to shine. Sims, Taj, backup, and/or play Julius at the 5. Hashtag 53 wins. So that's the part we haven't talked about, and I guess we probably should have. I should have spent more time on initially. I just the Julius at the 5 thing, between the complete and total lack of rim protection, between how much they're going to hurt on the boards, and the fact that, like, I don't know what you really gain from that offensively. Like, Julius is doing what he's doing with a traditional center on the floor. So it's not like all of a sudden you're like opening up the offense. The Knicks already have one of the best offenses in the NBA since the first week or 2 weeks of the season. So I don't know that I love that as an option. I think you're more on point by suggesting, like, they're just going to have to roll with Taj and Sims for a while, which, like, I don't know. Is that nuts? Maybe not. But again, we're talking moving forward into the playoffs. So I don't know. And in terms of wasting draft capital, like, they're not giving up like a first round pick or anything. Like, you're talking about, like, they got a good second in the Pistons second. So yeah, we'll see. Juanon. There's no chance Jonathan Isaac is available, right? Want to talk about a guy Tibbs would love and can play the 5, protect the rim. Yeah, makes a ton of money. Orlando's winning games. He's kind of a part of their defensive identity. I know he didn't play that many minutes. Certainly not going to give, like, like, what would that trade even look like? I mean, is he expiring? Does he have another year left? I don't. I don't see it. I don't see it. But listen, crazier things, right? What is he? Yeah, expiring 17. No, sorry, there's another year left. 17.4. I don't know if there's any options on that year. I'll look that up right now, though. Again, I don't think that's. The interesting thing, as I'm just talking out loud, is, and no one's going to want to hear this right now, but if there was a center, oh no, it's not guaranteed. Sorry, his salary for next year is I believe completely non-guaranteed. Yeah, completely non-guaranteed. So, maybe that's something. If they do find a center that has an additional year with, like, significant money left on his contract, I do wonder if that would impact their thinking in terms of re-signing Hartenstein in the offseason. Because the thing is, again, they can re-sign him. I think they're going to have to go basically give him the max that they can as an early bird free agent, because some team out there is going to be willing to give him the full, I think at least, the full non-taxpayer mid-level. So I think you're going to have to beat that. I wonder if that would impact their thinking there. We'll see. Getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Eric Fernandez, Vooch. God, no. 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 Sorry, Eric. It's not the George you're looking for. Daniel, how about Goga Batadze on Orlando? I mean, Goga's been really good for them. He was just starting center for a while. Now Wendell Carter Jr. is back. So I guess now does Goga go back into mothballs? Because, they have their whole kind of rotation already set. Expiring $2 million contract. That's an interesting name. Now, again, it's December 20th. If Leon Rose calls up, I don't know who the hell Orlando's GM is, but he calls them up tomorrow and be like, hey, you're not using Goga Batadze anymore. You think you might want to send him our way? Like, okay, great. Like, what are you giving us? We're trying to beat you. We're trying to finish higher in the standings than you. we're not gonna just help you out for some bullshit pick. The Magic have a ton of picks, and they have a ton of young players. I don't know if they necessarily need some second round pick. Like they're gonna help the Knicks out. Why? Why? I don't know. It's tough. Thanks, Daniel. And that's the thing about this is you're talking about like now that you're looking at it through the rest of the season, but now that you know it's going to be the rest of the season, the urgency, how much does it go up? Or do you still look at it like we could still make it through the next couple of months? We thought we were going to be able to make it through the next couple of months anyway. We could, so what? We'll just make a trade at the trade deadline. I don't know. I don't know how much that changes their thinking. I'm sure it does, but I don't know how much. Anyway, Mythic Monty, he's currently hurt until January. I knew someone was going to go here. Mason Plumlee's a guy I could see the Knicks targeting at the deadline to replace Ihart role on the bench. So Plumlee obviously got hurt in their game against the Knicks earlier this season for the place for the Clippers. So Plumlee makes $5 million. He's expiring. So both of those check the box. I was just looking at Tucker. Tucker has a player option for next year, and the Knicks aren't touching that willingly. Plumlee's a good name. Plumlee might be the best name that I've seen. Now, the Clippers are a team that's trying to win a championship this year. Are they? Look, I know they've been good recently. They may want Plumlee as part of their team. Moving forward. They may not want to give him away. I don't know. I kind of want to see something really quick. I want to see what their current rotation is. So they've been, they've basically been playing. Oh, that's right. They signed Tice. I forgot about that. They signed Tice. That's the best name. Good job by you, Mythic Monty. That's the best name that I've heard. Absolutely. And that's something that, again, that makes a fuckload of sense because they have Tice there. They'd be more amenable. You want to talk about a team with their outgoing draft assets that they've already traded away for this, that, and the other thing. You want to talk about a team that absolutely would relish maybe a couple of second-round picks, get some cheap influx of talent. That's a good one. Bad job by me that I didn't bring that up until now. Kevin Danishevsky, I can't believe I'm saying this, but is it Dwight? No. No, it's not. Next. Robert Cross, first time, long time. It's your boy John. I don't want Andre Drummond. Hashtag 53 wins. Well, you don't want anybody who's not currently on the roster. If it was up to you, the 12 players that are whatever, or 13 players that are currently on the Knicks would play for the Knicks until you're dead and I'm dead and we're all dead, because you never want to see anybody get traded or anybody get traded to the team or anything. It's just, this is what you want. So thanks so much for your generous contribution, Robert. Jay Berg just joined the stream. Sad news. Jared Allen for cheap. No. No. Cavs ain't trading Donovan Mitchell, and they sure as hell ain't trading Jared Allen. Thanks, Jay. Hushu, JaVale McGee doesn't have a consistent role now. I forget where he even is. I know he was on Dallas. Is he still on Dallas? I think he got bought out. He's with some other team now. I should know where he is. That's a bad job by me that I don't. I like Plumlee a lot better. But I'll humor you and look up where the hell JaVale McGee is playing right now. Oh, he's on the Kings. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. How much does he have left? Like Plumlee, at least I know Plumlee was still a good NBA player as of this year. Like McGee wasn't a good player last year when he lasted all of a week in Dallas's rotation after being promised the starting center job. Like Plumlee's good. Now you probably get McGee for cheaper, but thanks, Hush. Hayden Freed, backup center was our niche. Strength became a weakness. Yep. Amen to that. True story. David, what's going on, David? I think you just play out the season with Ihart and Sims. Get DeMar for cheap. Get some size. Why do we want DeMar DeRozan? Only one ball. A lot of guys already that like it, want it, need it. I don't know that you're getting DeMar on the cheap. DeMar wants to get paid. Just no. As far as playing out the season with Ihart and Sims, maybe. I think they're going to make a move. I think they're going to acquire somebody. Would be my guess. Jeremy Trace. Here's an idea. Get Boogie. The least Tibbsian player on earth to come back from Taiwan. Way to ruin a perfectly good night, Shams. Yeah. Tell me about it. Hashtag we can't have nice things. No, apparently not. Apparently not. So El Coriano 11. I'd be lying if I did not admit that when this news dropped down and I was racking my brain for potential replacements, this player's name did not cross my mind. And that is Kyle O'Quinn. Now, Kyle O'Quinn has not played NBA basketball in some time. He is amongst like Knicks centers, not named Patrick Ewing. I think it's Taj number 1, and then Kyle O'Quinn is a very close number 2. I don't know that Kyle O'Quinn is the guy that is the tree we should be barking up right now. RJ Team. Taj is a perfectly capable backup center. I you know what? He might be. Again, nobody loves Taj more than me. If you're trying to win a playoff series, now but we're talking about all these names. Drummond, Plumlee, JaVale McGee. Even Kelly Olynyk. Again, I talked about the reasons why I don't think that trade's going to work. Is the difference that significant? Is the difference between any of those guys or any of the guys that you might get to play this spot now? Is the difference between any of them and Taj Gibson or Jericho Sims significant enough that it's going to make the difference in a playoff series? But then again, that might not be all we're talking about. They got to get there. They got to get there, and that not winning. I'll say this. Here's another silver lining. Some people may not look at it as a silver lining, but I think this Mitch news kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off this season. At this point, this is really tough news. If the Knicks go out in the first round or something, I think it looks a lot different now that Mitch is going to miss probably the whole year and won't be there for the playoffs. I think that takes on a bit of a different tone, almost regardless of how they play without him from here on in, because he's that good. All that said, I think internally, Ian always has good reporting on this. I'll be curious to read his next report. But internally, I have to think that there's still going to be pressure on them to make the playoffs at the very least and put forth a decent showing once they get there. You got to get there. And honestly, I don't know, maybe the right backup center can make the difference between them getting the 6th seed or the 7th seed or the 5th seed or the 6th seed or something. Right? I don't know. Thanks, RJ team. Alex, what's going on, Alex? Hayes or Wood from the Lakers? I know their rotation may be in flux. I don't know that I see either of those. But you never know. No, I mean it's not crazy. Thanks, Alex. Kevin, Jerome James, Jared Jeffries, Kevin Seraphin, all wonderful names. All wonderful names. Thank you, Kevin. David, and his freedom over my dead body. You want to see me quit doing this shit? You should go resign Enes Kanter. I don't give a shit what he calls himself now. And then David also asked, will Mitch be back for the playoffs? What was reported? Again, all that's reported is that to apply for the disabled player exception, you need to show evidence that it is more likely than not that the player will be out through the entirety of the playoffs. Yes. That's it. Man. Well, this is a post game I don't think I'll ever forget for a variety of reasons. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate the support, all the contributions, the whole thing. And tough news tonight. But if there is a team in the NBA that will not feel sorry for themselves over a loss like this and will figure out a way from the front office to the coaching staff to the roster all the way on down, and will figure out a way to make it work. It's the Knicks, which is, my God, talk about the last thing I would have thought I would say about this franchise before this whole regime took over. But that is what you can say about them now because they have earned it. And so that is encouraging to me. Anyway, if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you listen to this in podcast form, rate, like, subscribe, review, whatever, all the different things. And we will see you with more fun and games before you know it.